What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk to you on Rivian. I want to go over some of the current data points, give you some expectations for next week, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So based on Friday, it did go up 2.82%, a hell of a lot of volatility. So 1578 was the low, 1647 was the high. So a lot of volatility in a short time frame because the market did close at 1 o'clock, but 15.18 million shares were traded, 36.8 is the average. At the time of doing this video, well, I guess on Friday, there was no SEC filings, no PR, nothing like that. So it has just been piggybacking off of the broader market. The latest form that did come out was on November the 20th. So on Monday was just an 8K. Nothing really crazy in my opinion. So I feel like a lot of people are just waiting for the next earnings just to see if Rivian does hit their targets. That's going to be one of the make it or break it kind of points for Rivian. Of course, we have to wait a good month and a half probably at least until their earnings, but I want to go over some of the data points. And so starting off with options, $3.99 million in calls being purchased versus 1.47 million in puts. So based on this information, people are optimistic about Rivian. Looking at the specific calls though, this shows all the strike prices, expiry dates. Based on this information, it is anticipated for it to be above around $17 by the end of next week, so that's kind of a good thing. Looking at puts though, it is anticipated for it to be sub $16. So you do have both extremes. And if it does go sub $16, things could get very real very fast. So I'm going to talk all about that in a second, but these are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market over $100,000. So despite the market closing earlier and on a Friday, there was a hell of a lot of volume after hours. So 4.4 million for a transaction, 2.11, those are the only ones that were above a million. But regardless though, a lot more transactions versus the last several days. So kind of interesting when it comes down to that. I'll give you a quick overview of shorts. So based on Friday, shorts did increase 1.83 million shares, 15.49% of the free float is being shorted, 103.94 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is 0.95%, and through Interactive Broker short availability does indicate that there's more than 10 million shares available to be shorted. So obviously with this information altogether, like Rivian's not a short squeeze play. I'm just bringing this up as a benchmark, so just be aware of that. And especially with the utilization being 37.98% and short score 65.6, it's definitely not in the cards. It is to note though, even though it's not a short squeeze play, shorts are and have been getting in quite significantly over the last about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. So something to note overall though. But when it comes down to some expectations for this upcoming week, there is really only two things to watch for. So Wednesday, GDP numbers, and of course GDP that definitely could really cause a lot of volatility. It is anticipated to kind of come in line with the previous. So these are the forecasts. So the quarter over quarter is estimated to be 4.9. And the last GDP numbers that did come out, which I feel like they just came out last week, time's flying way too fast, but were a lot better than expected. So that definitely gave a nice boost to the broader market. And then Thursday, PCE. Everyone and their dog is going to be watching PCE because that is what the feds really do use to dictate whether inflation is going up, down, sideways, all over the place. So a lot of the mainstream media likes to look at CPI, but the feds really do look at core PCE. So that's something to really watch for going forward. And as far as companies unveiling their earnings, there's a lot of heavy hitters on a larger scale, but nothing in the EV sector that could cause some volatility for that. So in my opinion, I feel like going into next week, it is simply going to be those two data points, so GDP and core PCE, that's going to dictate whether Rivian goes up, down, sideways, as well as their technicals. So Rivian's technicals have been choppy at best. So even looking right here, it has been trying to break out, but it is still sticking in the lower percentile of the Bollinger Band. So it is below a very heavy resistance point. But looking at some of the fib levels with it at $16.43, it is between this S1 and the pivot. So like I said, $16.58 is very strong resistance, and then $15.63 is that next strong support. And it's kind of funny, it kind of touched both extremes just on Friday. So even though it was, like I said, a shorter day, it did touch kind of where the S1 and also the pivot is. So once again, as I've said in the past, all the fib levels are kind of wide and spread out. So you just have to be very comfortable with a lot of volatility in the foreseeable future. But regardless, a lot of my videos just orient themselves towards short-term movements and just what's going to be happening in the next maybe month. But bigger picture, Rivian has laid down the foundation for them to succeed and to be the #2 spot aside Tesla. My own opinion, not financial advisor. You guys always do your own due diligence. Plus, I think overall, looking at a lot of the stats, it has been showing a lot of surprising improvement within the states. So as you can kind of see right here, so this is all the stats from October 2023. And so ultimately on a global scale, starting, I guess, for September 2023, it is up 23% year over year. So that is sales. And that does represent a 17% overall share or market share. So EVs are starting to take over more and more popularity, especially higher gas prices. And aside from that, though, it's just better for the environment and things like that. But it is to note that the USA, so the good old states, is up 59% and the market share is 9.9. When I started to cover EVs, I think it was around 5% or 4%. So the EVs within, or the stats within the states, has dramatically outpaced, for instance, Europe and China. So definitely Rivian is in the right markets, my own opinion as well. So let me know your thoughts on that. But one thing I just wanted to mention briefly, so when I went over technicals, I went over some of the fib levels, what might be happening at least in the short term, some points to really watch for. But if you are a fan of the Elliott wave, I just wanted to show you this. So it does show that $14.40 is going to be a very strong pivot point for Rivian based on the technicals. If it does break below that, then you can anticipate anywhere between $12.17 and $11.60. Vice versa, as long as they can stay above that, then you can anticipate at least for it to really trend back into the 20s. So $20.30 to $21.40. So once again, I just wanted to share that with you based on the bigger picture technicals. It's entering into a very close pivot point. So like I said, especially with GDP and core PCE coming out, if it does break this 1563 that it kind of touched on Friday, then 1505 and then 1410. So it is very close to the very strong pivot point for Rivian's technicals bigger picture. So once again, let me know your thoughts on all of that in the comments below. If you are looking for a lot of good compiled information such as this, so Elliott wave, even analyst ratings for that, upcoming earnings for analyst forecasts, take a look at Interactive Brokers for all of this to be completely free. Link in the description below and also the comments. One final thing as well, I just wanted to share with you, 𝗪𝗧 is having a crazy promo only up until November the 30th, so a couple days left. Sign up for an account with 𝗪𝗧, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. So take advantage of this. Plus any cash that you do have in this account, you are going to be earning 5.1% APY. So this is a win-win. Take advantage of that, and as well as Interactive Brokers in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, I appreciate all of you watching.